All right, and we are back with Shane Hallam, and he's going to help us with our Steelers mock draft. We're going to do a full 7 rounds for this. I think Shane's up to the task.
Oh, yeah.
So that's his bread and butter. If you could emphasize bread and butter anymore, that would be it. So we are going to start with the Panthers, and we're going to roll. And when the Steelers have their pick, let us know who you think they'll take, and kind of throw in a little bit of your own. I want to hear what Shane has to say too. So not only what Pittsburgh might do, but also what Shane would do, because we know this is your thing. All right, let's go ahead and start.
Here we go.
And just like that, we are at pick 17. We are looking at, on the board, you've got your receiver, Quentin Johnston. You've got Dalton Kincaid. Oh, Pittsburgh doesn't really need a tight end. Let's see. Did we lose our guy?
I think we lost Porter there.
We lost
the Jets. Pairing him up with Sauce. What are they doing?
Oh, okay. All right. So knowing this, Shane, what are you thinking? Miles Murphy there is an interesting one. Will McDonald, who you talked about earlier, but that's a little high maybe for him at 17. Anton Harrison, tackle. Broderick Jones, another good tackle here. What are you doing here? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting spot because I think the Steelers would have a tough decision. I think the decision would be probably between Deonte Banks, the corner from Maryland, and Broderick Jones, the tackle from Georgia. And if it was me, I would take Jones. And I think if Jones is sitting there, I think the value is really good to them. Now they've looked at some of some corners in the second round that I think they'd be comfortable with that fit the same length profile as Deonte Banks. So I think I line up with what the Steelers would do. I think they would take Broderick Jones here at 17.
Okay. All right. We like that. Sturdy, strong tackle. So let's go.
Left tackle, plug and play. Didn't allow a sack for Georgia this year. I mean, you can't beat that in the SEC.
Very Steelers pick there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of is, isn't it? All right. So here we are at the absolute top of the second round, pick number 32, thanks to the Chase Claypool trade. You've got some interesting edge rushers here. There's a corner for you. What are you thinking here, Shane?
Yeah, it's kind of a killer end of the first for the Steelers because I think 3 of those 4 picks at the end, Mozzie Smith, for the last 5, I think Deonte Banks, Mozzie Smith, Anton Harrison, and Will McDonald all are considerations for the Steelers at 32. So I think it hits them a little bit harder than maybe it did. What can you organize by position? Can you show me the corners that are left? Because I think Emmanuel Forbes, they have looked at Forbes, so I think he's a consideration. Now he has 166 pounds, which is tiny, but he is a playmaking nickel. I think Tyreek Stevenson, Julius Brents, Tyreek Stevenson, Miami, and Julius Brents to Kansas State are more that kind of big, long outside corners. I think at 32. I think they might take Forbes with how the board has played out. Put him in at nickel. He has 6 pick sixes in his career. They don't really have a playmaking corner on the roster right now. And we'll see what happens in the second round. I might double up on corner. I think they could double up on corner in this situation. They go tackle in the first. So I think Emmanuel Forbes here in the second.
All right. We'll go ahead and do that. And that'll bring us to the second pick in the second round for Pittsburgh at pick number 49. Let's see. There's Stevenson there if you wanted to double up. As you can see, some others here. Brents is also there.
And then we start getting defensive linemen as well, because I think Benton is interesting. I'm torn because I think they could go with an outside corner, like we talked about. But I do think that Zero Tech, that nose tackle, is super important in this draft to them and is definitely a day 2 possibility. And I think there's some late round corners. Now they have the nickel guy that they could take. It's this draft is not going how I expected it to go. But
yeah, you're getting sniped at some points here.
Yeah,
that's not fair.
Which happens, I think like Keely Ringo had been there 2 picks later. I think I probably would have taken him as well. So, I'm going to go with Keanu Benton, the defensive lineman out of Wisconsin, as the nose tackle for the Steelers. Really, he was double teamed every single game. Just a really impressive player. I like him. I think more than consensus too. I think Steelers do too.
All right, we have arrived with the 3rd round pick then, and this is pick number 80.
Couple corners.
Let's look at receiver. What receivers are there? Because I think that this is a Steelers spot, right? 80 feels like a good receiver pick.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers or the receivers are thinning out a little bit here. Here's Mingo.
I think I'm going to take Mingo. I think they would take Mingo here, and I think this is a good spot for a receiver because I like Mingo. I like Reed. Even Keyshawn Boutte being there, they wouldn't take him, I don't think, but that's intriguing to me. So yeah, let's go Mingo. I think they would take Jonathan Mingo here.
A lot of people that I'm talking to have a lot of good things to say about Jonathan Mingo, and his film looks great. Of course, his highlights, he makes those like tough catches and stuff. That's always good to see. Let's go ahead and take Mingo.
There's just so many games of 2 catches for 10 yards, and you're like, what, but they ran a lot at Ole Miss this year.
Yeah.
All right, we are on pick 120 in the 4th round. And
the unknown regions of the 4th round.
Yes, that's right.
What's happening?
That's right. Is there a particular, now you're getting into some running backs and such, is there a particular position you want to take a look at here, Shane?
Yeah, let's take a look at off-ball linebacker first. I might run you through a couple. I'll be quick, but linebacker is probably a look that they would definitely take. I mean, there's some good players here. I think Noah Sewell's really interesting, the linebacker from Oregon. Owen Powell, the linebacker from Auburn, is super athletic as well. So he's intriguing. Then maybe take a look at, let's do edge rusher as well and see if there's anyone
that stands out
here.
What can you tell us about Karl Brooks? Small school, Bowling Green.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has some of the best film, I think, of kind of a D-line edge rusher combo. I mean, super productive this year. The non-combine invite, I think, is the question. Why was he not there? Because he worked out well, has kind of that leverage, small leverage, the toughness that you look for. I think he's more explosive on film than a lot of people have graded him. So, let's take Noah Sewell. I think he popped up on the edge as well.
Yeah,
the linebacker out of Oregon. Didn't work out as well as I hoped that he would. I think it knocks him into day 3, but I do think he's a good player. Just hasn't reached that ceiling yet, and you can develop their inside backer.
All right, the Steelers are without a 5th and a 6th round pick, so we're gonna keep scrolling here. But they have 2 7th round picks. So we'll get there here shortly.
I know. So sometimes I'm seeing names like, Daniel Scott just went. That'd be a good one. I think they would hope he would be there in the 7th safety from Cal.
All right, so this is your wheelhouse here, Shane. Where is it that Pittsburgh might go and talk to us about some of these guys? Because the average person is not really familiar with these guys here, including myself. So
who are these people?
Tell me about where you would go here. Is there a particular position that you're looking for if you're a team in the 7th round? A punter, a kicker? Is that even a possibility? Or is that stuff more like a free agent, undrafted free agent pick that you might make? Like if you're a GM, what are you targeting here?
Look, I think a lot of GMs are going to target athletic upside. That's what we saw last year. 6th, 7th round is about, you go to Rasdale football and you look at who's in the 97th, 98th percentile athletes all time at their position, and you draft those guys, right? Because someone's going to want to sign them after the draft. So let's draft them and get them in here.
Right.
On kind of the board and list, Like Jason Taylor II, the safety from Oklahoma State, I like a lot. I think he's underrated. Marte Mapu, the safety from Sacramento State, had an injury working out. He probably would have been a 5th or 6th round pick before that. Small school player, really tough in the box safety. I think
is that Jason Taylor's son?
It is not.
Okay.
I know. Get that off the chest. I know when I saw the name, I was like, oh yeah. When he went into the Senior Bowl, I was like, wait, I got to look that up, and it wasn't. I was like, I like when that comes out that way. I'm between two players here, both edge rushers. I think edge rusher. Right, we talked about the depth that the Steelers needed in the Steelers show. I think they look at Lonnie Phelps, the edge rusher from Kansas, kind of smaller special teams ace, and that's what you see in the 6th and 7th round too. That's why sometimes, one of my hot takes is that Kayshon Boutte is going to go undrafted is because he doesn't play special teams. I think teams want to take guys that play special teams, and you can see him kind of improve through the year. Had a good Senior Bowl, came in late to that. I think he's super interesting as well. But not necessarily a guy he's a little smaller. Not necessarily a guy that's going to play up. So I think I'm going to go with MJ Anderson, the edge rusher from Iowa State. He's a little bit bigger. I think he can play kind of with his hand down more in a traditional 4-3 defensive end stance. But with the Steelers preferring a little bigger outside backers, pass rushing, standing up, he fits that mold. He is very versatile at Iowa State. He's the one that kind of allowed Will McDonald to do Will McDonald things because teams did have to account for him on the other side. Sometimes those guys get underdrafted, and it's kind of the kind of player the Steelers like to grab.
Yeah, kind of a determining factor on the success of the other player, right?
Right. So I think that it happens often.
Pick 241 here. It's the last pick for the Steelers.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Still some names up here that we saw earlier. There's Phelps again. But you took an edge rusher last pick there, so
yeah. I want you to search for a name for me. That's I have a name that right. I think
let's do it.
Like I'm gonna shoot my shot. I think they take this player at 241, and I'm gonna see. We'll see if I get it right after the draft happens. It's Tanner Ingle, Ingle is his last name. I guess he's gone in this draft, or which is possible.
Okay.
He's
you're on record with saying that you want him.
I think I want him. I think the Steelers are going to take him at 241. He's like an elite special teams player in the box safety who I really like. So with him gone, I think I'll take Marte Mapu, the safety from Sacramento State. I'll take probably a red shirt year for him, but like I said, he's athletic. The injury is what hurts him. He should go higher than this, but teams might hold off. But he flies around the field, and I mean at Sacramento State, he was like a heat-seeking missile. I mean, he was these smaller school running backs just didn't know what to do. He was in their face all the time. So I'm going to take him. I think he would really fit in Pittsburgh.
All right, sounds like a special teamer and someone that would probably fit the Pittsburgh way, right? So. I'll go ahead and take him. Now, as soon as I take this, we'll conclude the draft. Let's see what your draft grade is here for everything. So let's do that.
Take me here.
All right.
Here we go. It's like a drum roll.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Oh, man.
Oh, no. Our first F.
I got the F with Jonathan Mingo. That is not an F pick by any means. I'll challenge
the algorithm speaking, I think.
Yeah. They don't like Jonathan Mingo too much, but you don't find that height, weight, speed too often, especially for a guy that can play a big slot. That's tough to find in this draft. So I'll stand by that pick.
You're gonna get that last laugh, Shane.
But when he goes in the top 100, I'll come out and I'll highlight this F and circle.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of recap here. Is there anything? I mean, there were a lot of picks that you like we talked about earlier. You were sniped. On some of these, and a lot of picks that you kind of were like, I'm going to go with this guy, hoping that the one that you wanted wasn't picked, but sure as heck was. Well, here's where we ask our viewers, what would you do differently? What did you like? It's going to be hard to kind of be a rebuttal here for Shane, the draft expertise master. But what do you think? What do you like here? Let us know in the comments. But yeah, this was fun. This was a good draft. I like doing all 7 rounds. Learning more about players, and you mentioned some players who are rising. Anyone specifically that's falling, Shane?
There hasn't been too many bad workouts. I feel like we're at this point in the NFL and draft process where everyone's just hyper training for these things, and if you're not good, you don't do it. So there hasn't been too many. It's like, this is a player that's fallen. I think we're seeing some of the like I said, some of the underclassmen that people kind of expected have high capital, like a Kayshon Boutte out of LSU, the receiver, fall out of favor. Just because you're an underclassman doesn't mean you're going to get drafted super high. A lot of times, if you don't play special teams at receiver, corner, safety, you're going to fall. So I think he's fallen a little bit, where guys like Jonathan Mingo are moving up.
All right. Well, that pretty much does it for our mock draft here of the Steelers. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Shane. We appreciate your expertise and insights on the Steelers, on what they might do in the draft. And be sure to follow Shane for his NFL draft knowledge. His Twitter handle is @ShanePHallam. And do us a favor, check out our other videos that we have on the NFL draft, as well as our other mock drafts. So if you're a fan of a specific team, chances are we've covered them. Or if we haven't, we'll get to them. So thanks so much for that. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
We'll get there, we promise.
We'll get there, exactly. Great. So make sure you check that out. And Shane, thanks again for joining us. We really, really appreciate your expertise here and educating us.
Anytime, guys.
Thanks.
All
Shane.
right.